Hello. It's been a while, been on the busy side of things, but I finally got round to making this review of a recent draft I took part in. Um, I love draft because it means it's an opportunity to use new stuff and different interesting stuff, and that was certainly the case in this one. I think I was eight. It was a 17-person draft, and I was eighth, so I was always going to get something good and a couple of good things. Um, but in draft, like I always think about how I'm going to beat fairies, how I'm going to beat dragons, and how I'm going to beat steels. Beating fairies is always the most important thing for me because no one wants to lose to charm. Um, steels, steels, poisons, and fires are the typical counters, so all have the ground weakness, and so for me, if I can get a fairy counter that can take on ground, be that Skarmory, or be that Venusaur, or be that something of that sort of description, Golbat, that's always a big bonus for me. And Skarmory was still available when it got to me. Skarmory was the thing I really wanted to build around this time. So I picked up Skarmory. Not only is it the charm resist, that can deal with ground types, but it also it covers dragon as well. It covers razor leafers, which I always like as well. And obviously, it's just great all around. I think I've had success in the past with Bronzong, a steel type that can beat counter users, and having Skarmory sort of fills that role as well. So that was kind of nice. Another thing I like is having, when you think about dragon counters, you think of steel and you think of ice or fairy. Again, all weak to fire. Typically, fairies are easily walled as well, so I like having something that does either a fairy type that doesn't do fairy damage, or I like having a non-dragon that does dragon damage, something like Gyarados I've used in the past. And Tapu Fini was still on the board when it came around to the pick number 2, so that was a nice little pair with Skarmory. Obviously, they have the shared electric weakness, so I knew I needed to tackle that going forward. So this was kind of in my plan to try and get Skarmory and Fini, and so I knew that if by some miracle Nidoqueen or Diggersby was still on the table when it came to pick 3, that I would take them. If neither were, I'd hold back and I'd go for Nidoking, pick 6. But Diggersby by some miracle was still there, so that's amazing because obviously it's got the big electric resist. It can deal with grass types okay, which is nice for Fini. And having a normal type is really cool because it can deal with ghosts and lickers. But like, I've struggled to break down lickers in the past in draft, so having a normal type was something I was really keen on. So yeah, I was absolutely thrilled with Diggersby. I used Beware in a draft recently, and it was just not good. So having a really good normal type was solid. Fourth pick. So at this point, I know I need to be building electric resistances in still. I'm still a little on the weak side to charm. Like I still want more things that beat charm. And it would be nice to have a ghost resist that doesn't melt a counter as well. Obviously, dark poison types do all that. And Hisuian Quillfish was the one I took because it's awesome. Aqua Tail is really nice and spammy, stops it from being walled by steals, and the Mud Boys sort of thing. It can hit most things. Most things that try and take on dark poisons don't really want to be enjoying repeated Aqua Tails and poison jabs. And having Shadow Ball is is a lovely neutral move. So yeah, I was really pleased with Quillfish. Obviously, it doesn't resist grass, and so I knew it doesn't resist electric. Sorry, so I knew my last 2 picks had to be electric resists, which leaves me picking a grass and a dragon, right? At this point, I was so pleased with the core 4 that I got. I was sort of eyeing up teams that were being picked that I didn't like the look of, and I'm really glad I did that because I faced 3 of them in the 5 games, and so I sort of counter-picked a little bit based on what fit within my parameters of what I needed to round up the team. So when I went for my grass pick, it was either I wanted something that was not going to be massively vulnerable to flies, because having Diggersby as a key part of the team does open that up a little bit, especially as I only have Skarmory as the 1 flying resist, and I wasn't likely to get a flying resisted a dragon that resists flying, because there aren't many of those about. Just Tyrantrum and Tyrant off the top of my head. So that sort of put me in range of thinking of either Cradily or Tangrowth. And again, when I look at the team, I see Diggersby, I see Hisui and Quillfish. I didn't really want any more counter weaknesses. Not that the team's bad versus counter, but you want to give the counter users as little reason to be run as possible. So with that in mind, I went Tangrowth. And another reason I went Tangrowth over Cradily is because Tangrowth actually resists other grasses, whereas Cradily doesn't. And with the Tapu Fini Diggersby core, having a grass resist would be nice also. So Tangrowth was the pick there. I went Shadow on the Tangrowth because I remember from one of the points-based cups in Sylph, knowing that Shadow was the recent one, Forged, I think it was. Shadow Tangrowth can pick up Cresselia and Lickitung in its zeros, which is really nice because one of the teams that I was trying to sort of counter-pick had both Cresselia and Lickitung. That little combo was another reason why getting a Dark Poison was nice as well, being able to sort of take on those things. Yeah, so that was Tangrowth. And then the last pick, I was going to get Komodo, but then it got snapped. But actually, I'm really pleased I didn't. I went Haxorus. I went in with the fighting damage from the dragon rather than relying on close combat. I went with Haxorus and went counter. Again, one of the teams I was looking at, I really didn't like the look of, had Bastiodon, a Charmer, and the grass thing, Lurantis. And I wanted something that could break Lurantis and Bastiodon, which there kind of isn't much about. Just that Haxorus is pretty much up there with that. And although it doesn't do dragon damage with its fast move, it's got dragon claw as a charge, so it's getting to dragon damage quickly enough, and the attacks that it has it's going to do plenty of damage. And then it has Night Slash as well, which is really cool for it's another way of answering ghosts. If Diggersby and Quillfish wasn't enough, and the bulky psychics like the Cresselia, which I don't. I'm not particularly weak to Crest, but it's not nice to take on ever. And again, I suppose another nice thing with going Haxorus over Komodo is the lack of flying weakness, which between having Tangrowth and Diggersby, I didn't really want any more flying weaknesses. So that's the squad. And first up was this guy, Beedrill Morton, for those of you in the know. Shadow Moltres. I've run Moltres in the past in draft. It did really well for me. I deleted the videos, unfortunately. I thought I still had them. There were some cracking games. Regular Moltres is better. You need the bulk to make the most of its defensive typing. So I didn't want to underestimate the Moltres, but I was really confident going into this because, like, I think in order for him to win, has to RPS me. Like the Skarm, Finny, Diggersby core here is just so strong. Yeah, it's like Toxicroak is a potential issue. Linoon is a potential issue, but I have ways to play around those mons with all three of my mons. So I've got the videos on 50% extra speed just to fly through them a bit because I can't remember what happened. So let's hit play. So great lead, and he's presumably going to switch out. He goes to Linoon. I'm thinking I'm going to try and catch a Thunder maybe with Diggersby. Do a little bit of damage as well, which is nice. And maybe I can go for the kill with Fire Punches. Obviously miscounted here, so I have to shield. Miscounted again. I'm just not being familiar with Thunder and Shadow Claws, obviously. So get that wrong, and of course it falls into CMP as well. So this is like the worst case scenario. So I've thrown away a really good lead here. Finny is bulky enough to take a discharge here, so I know I'm going to get some damage off. And it's smart of him not to shield here because he's like when you consider how strong Diggersby is versus him, it's kind of likely he knows I've likely got Diggersby in the back. Yeah, so he doesn't waste the shield there. Toxie into Skarm still isn't great for him though. Do I go for the full farm? No. I suppose I've got to get a shield at some point. And at that point, even a Mud Bomb would probably have killed me. So at least I get the shield there. Did I go Fire Punch there? Yeah. Okay, so again, poor counting on my part. Probably should have farmed down. But I can get the farm down now, I think. So yeah, Sludge Bomb doesn't do a great deal. I remember thinking he was pretty close to a play rough, so it was good that I threw quickly. And then I can farm down there. So yeah, came really close. Like I did my best to throw that game away. But managed to pull through in the end. This isn't great because there's nothing I can really do to hit the Moltres. Like, I mean, Earthquake will still do a load, but I can't really bait. Yeah, I can't really bait here. So, I mean, I get the damage, which is nice. I try and catch a Skite Attack there. So, I mean, he gets the shield in the end. Interesting switch to Drapion, so I'm assuming Toxie in the back at this point. Again, it's one of his better mons versus me, so it would make sense. So really, I've got to hang on to this shield, I think. Obviously, I don't, because so now the Finny is vulnerable to a Sludge Bomb from Toxie. So I've got to go for the farm down. Presumably he doesn't bring Moltres in here. Oh, he does. Okay. No, that was yeah. I mean, he had to throw the move. He has to try and weaken Skarmory to get it in counter range. So it kind of makes sense. So saving Skarmory there, saving the health on Skarmory probably was the play. So as strange as switches that looked for me, it probably was the right. Yeah, I wonder whether I think I just run out of health here between the two mons because he's going to farm the Diggersby and then throw Mud Bombs at Skarm. I try switching to deny a bit of energy, but yeah, the one Mud Bomb comes, the second Mud Bomb comes. But down to the decider. Finny lead into Linoon, not good. He can see I've not brought Diggersby because I was a bit concerned about the Moltres Toxicroak pair. Again, I'm trying to catch the Grass Knot there, miss it, or he overcharged, so fair play. I Chew the Thunder. I'm thinking he has Toxicroak in, like he's going to want to get the Toxicroak in if he can to keep it away from the Scarm. So the help on Quillfish isn't useful for me, and I get to a Shadow Ball, which is really, really nice. Presumably Scarm in for the farm now. And he's in a slightly awkward situation because his fire type, yes, he's doing fire damage to me, but his charge moves aren't really helping him. So he's really going to be going for the farm. But I managed to get a shield with the Sky attack before having to shield with the Scarm. So here I remember thinking, I know he's near another Sky attack, so I have to go fairly close to getting back-to-back Surfs. So I know he's close to getting the two Sky attacks. So I have to go fairly close to getting back-to-back Surfs, but I didn't want to risk him getting the Grass Knot sooner than I thought he would. As he did in the first couple of games. So I was trying to get to the point where I could get to the second Surf in less than 9 turns. And I think I just about got that counting right. So that worked out well in the end. But certainly not as clear-cut a matchup as I was expecting going into it based on team preview. So it was a close one in the end, so fair play to Fnunken, Spunken, Pernchken, Morton. Fair play. Second game was against P. Scotford, and this was one of the teams I really didn't like the look of. That said, Tapu Fini looks incredible here. So he has to bring Lurantis. And that has its own problems for him, because then he has to bring Scarm. Because then because Lurantis is walled by Scar, but that brings problems for me because Bastardon and Sandshrew, of course. So it's kind of an awkward one. But this is where I like the Aquatail on Quillfish, because it means that if I farm the Lurantis or Clefable, it's not dead energy going into the Basti. And again, having Haxorus as a counter using Dragon, all of a sudden those little steel types that he has don't look great. It's going to do a decent enough damage to Lurantis. It's going to keep up with Hitmonchan. So then all of a sudden the Sableye Clefable look like ones he might have to bring. Even though they share weaknesses with Lurantis. So he's in an awkward spot here. I just have to be a bit smart. So let's see whether I am. That looked like Scarm. Finny Diggersby. Diggersby safe swap looks really good here. It's the Fire Punch. So that's what I do. So I remember before going into this match, I wanted to throw early with Diggersby into Lurantis. Rather than waiting for him to throw superpowers or leaf blades, or rather than waiting, hoping that he'd throw superpowers and be weakened, I'd rather him throw leaf blades, just because they're going to do less damage overall, I believe. So that means if he does give me switch, I can come out with more energy, with more health even, and that's really going to be handy. I get to a Fire Punch, that's nice. You get the shield, which is incredible. Because now that Lurantis is gone, Finny with a shield looks really strong. Sort of quite happy to take a Thunder Punch or a Fire Punch there, because I know that Finny can deal with both Sandshrew and Hitmonchan. Maybe I should farm a little more here. There's nothing that the Sandshrew can do to hurt me. Maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, Blizzard still does a fair chunk, but I'd rather shield a Thunder Punch than the Blizzard. But yeah, so it gets the Moonblast fairly comfortably. Maybe Surf would have been enough, and not revealing Moonblast might have been smart, just because it might have given me some shield pressure if I did get caught against the Lurantis, if he thought there was a chance I had Ice Beam. So again, Diggersby looks strong, so I choose to lead it this time, but it doesn't end up so well. And we end up in the situation that I kind of don't want to be in. But these Aqua Tails are going to chip, and it's going to put him in range where at some point Diggersby is going to be able to come back in and farm. And it keeps the Basti away from the Skarm as well, so it's kind of okay. Particularly if he doesn't have Sandshrew in the back, it's very okay. We get to another one right before he smackdowns me down. So the Diggersby isn't going to get as much farm as I might have hoped to. But yeah, he goes for Stone Edge, which was a strange move there. So I come out with a bit more health than I might otherwise have, because Flamethrower is of course the move to go for. I know I'm going to have to switch into Skarm now, and my win con is in not having Acer in the back. So I go for a cheap shield, and I get the cheap shield with Fire Punch. So that just makes it whatever he has in the back easier on Skarm. But obviously it does turn out to be the Sandshrew, so that is pretty meaningless in the end. But at the point where there was a chance it wasn't Sandshrew, it was the right play. So follow the win condition while they're there. But yeah, it's over now, really. Yeah, so I stopped recording. He beats me there. Quillfish in the third, clutch lead. First lead I win. Sandshrew. Yeah, so I knew that Diggersby was going to be good for me because it's got play versus everything. Whereas I didn't want Finny to end up versus the Lurantis. And I knew that Finny could tank anything that the Sandshrew would go for, whereas Diggersby would have to be concerned about a Blizzard if a Fire Punch didn't kill, which I didn't know whether it would. So I come out fairly close to another Surf. So I think I can get another Surf off versus the Clef, which it can, which makes it easier for Quillfish to farm down on its way back in. And notice I'm not letting the timer go there. I want to lock him in as much as I can. And it's great, he has Hitmonchan in the back, so I can expend all this energy and weaken him. I go for the Shadow Ball here, knowing that if he doesn't shield this, it's going to do a lot of damage, and if he does, it opens him up to taking an Earthquake from Diggersby, which he will not enjoy. Yeah, so either way, he was going to get hit with a big move. It just ended up being Earthquake rather than Shadow Ball. And then the Clef's far too low to be able to do anything. So I win that round as well. So that was good. I didn't end up bringing the Haxorus in the end. Yeah, I just thought, like, when you see a team like that, you expect charm, don't you? So I didn't fancy it. And Sableye is always good, although we didn't end up bringing Sableye. So using Haxorus possibly would have made my life a bit easier there. And so I remembered that going forward. So round 3. Against Sergeant Ricklett with a really, really strong looking team. One of those teams where, Vigoroth saves, which is classic, right? Double Steel, double Flyer. I was expecting Pidgeot over Dragonite here, to be honest. Like, when you look at the teams, I struggle to see a reason for him to bring Dragonite over Pidgeot. and that worried me because the double like Vigoroth Pidgeot does it really does bad things for me because I only have the one flying resistance in Skarmory, and he has Registeel, and Registeel's really good. So I fully expect Registeel. I fully expect Vigoroth Save Swap, and to try and lure up Skarm, and perhaps have Pidgeot in the back. So I know here that Finny is going to be crucial for me because that's going to be something that it can resist the counters from the Vigoroth, and it can put quick pressure on Registeel or Pidgeot whilst resisting the damage that Dragonite does if it chooses to go Dragonite. Bronzong and Runerigus I'm not too concerned about because of the Quillfish Diggersby. So I'm kind of narrowing it down to the other four. And then, as I said in the previous round, I'm also embracing myself to run Haxorus here because if he does run Registeel Vigoroth, I've got a counter user that's going to absolutely melt through those two Pokemon and bank up a lot of energy that he doesn't have resistances for. Yeah, so let's see what I do. So I'm immediately on the back foot here. I go for the Haxorus Save Swap. He switches out, which is interesting. Probably didn't want to risk. Probably assumed I was going to run Dragon Tail. Didn't want to take a bunch of damage, so fair enough. But that works out nicely for me because I can shield the Focus Blast and melt through this Registeel with counter. Don't want him to get to another one, so let's not have to go 2 shields down. And of course, I'm still close to another charge move here. So if Dragonite comes back in, I can drop another Dragon Claw on him. I let myself get weakened a little bit, just to avoid the farm down if he chooses not to shield. But that doesn't matter in the end. So in with Finny here. But it's still not great for me because Vigoroth is going to be in the back. So I need to do everything I can with Finny here. I can't shield these really because they're not going to do much. But what they are going to do is chip away a little bit just to make it so that one Body Slam kills me from Vigoroth. So it's still going to be rough for me. Maybe I have to try and catch a Body Slam on Diggersby here. So he throws a move. So I remember thinking here that I can probably get 3 fire punches off and definitely kill him with 2 of them. But then I don't actually throw. I'm obviously not thinking straight at this point. I just couldn't. I should have thrown a fire punch there. I wasted energy, gave him more energy. He lets that one through, which was the right play on his part. I get up to my double fire punch. So the first one through. But then I lose CMP, and I think had I thrown the first fire punch the turn earlier when I should have done, not had the wasted one shot, I think I would have won that. So just a slight lapse in concentration cost me there. But that was quite. It gave me hope because I was a bad lead and I managed to turn it around. So I lead with the Registeel this time, with the Haxorus this time. Thinking he's gone with the strategy I was sort of expecting. Flyer, Vic, Registeel. So let's try and break that with Haxorus. So that's the plan. Comes in with the Dragonite. Before switching, I go for the Dragon Claw, but then he lets it through, which was a really strange play. Really, really strange play. Because now presumably he's got 2 counter weak mons in the back, which he does. So I go into Skarm, get some use out of it before the Reggie blocks it. And yeah, whatever I do here, I do not shield with Skarmory because otherwise I'm just going to end up locked in versus the Registeel, and that's not good. So I even let through a move unnecessarily just to put myself on less farm and to wear down the timer so I can switch out a bit faster if he chose to switch. Land a Brave Bird, which is kind of nice, but at this point it was game over. So then I come in with the Haxorus and farm him down. The Decider, I'll probably go with the same line. I think the text that came down there was about the fish tank. I'm moving it in, so it was that long ago. So this is kind of not great, but I can get my Haxorus safe swap, which I know has worked well. We get a lot of lag here, which is bad because I've now no idea how many Dragon Claws he's done, how many Dragon Breaths he's done. So I just go low and hope I can take a shield and maybe get to 2. Again, he lets it through, and I just don't understand why. Because now he's giving me switch, and that puts me in a place where it's Finny versus Vigoroth, and Diggersby versus Registeel, and that's much better for me than it would otherwise have been. So I don't get that play, but yeah. But I remember this still ended up being close. Yeah, I let the body slams through. I don't really remember why. Yeah, maybe knowing that Diggersby was going to be the safe way to win this game, because the counter not being stabbed on Vigoroth stops it from damaging Diggersby as quickly as it might like. Yeah. So I'd much rather shield the focus blasts. And I kept the Finny alive in case he went for Zap Cannon base and debuffed me, so I could have cleared the debuffs. Again, I'm going to go for multiple fire punches here, but I get the bait, having him. He maybe remembered game 1. Thought I was going to do the opposite, didn't. So I get the bait, finish him off with the Earthquake, and it's game over. So yeah, a bit of an odd one, but in the end, like I sort of threw the first game, and I don't really know what he was doing with his Dragonite versus Haxorus in the second and third. So yeah, like kind of second game, you make that mistake once, right? You let the Dragon Claw through once in case I've not got it, in case I've got Night/Surf, fine, but you don't do it twice. So that was a strange one. So 3 rounds in. 3-0, all 2-1 victories, and then I end up versus Sharky Jake, and he stole Komodo from me, the absolute bastard. But I suppose I should be thankful, really. Finny looks incredible here. Finny looks really, really strong because, I mean, yeah, Cast Form can switch in, but he still has to take a Moonblast if he does that. Other than that, he's got Haunter, which can damage me faster than I can damage it. Finny just looks really, really safe. So I'm working on the basis that he has to bring Rainy Cast Form. And so I'm thinking, well, let's bring Tangrowth, because I can fight back versus Steelix. I've got Rock Slide for Haunter and Marowak. I obviously wall the Cast Form. Scrafty, I'm sort of neutral versus, and I have Tapu Fini to wall it. The only really bad situation for Tangrowth is if he brings Komodo, and that's a really bold bring on his part because I have Finny, Skarmory, 2 things which both wall it completely. Although, I should say completely. Close combat's can do a lot to Skarmory. So yeah, my thinking is if I can use Tangrowth on the safe switch, maybe, or lead even, and then safe switch Finny. Like that Tangrowth Finny core is going to be key for me. So I'll press play and see if I remember what I did. Did I see Haxorus safe swap there? I suppose that also does look very good. So he has the Haunter lead, which is solid, but I know I can stay in, and it's a good chance for me to get a bit of energy on the Finny. This is obviously a losing matchup for me, so I'm not going to waste any shields. I'm going to hold the shields for both Finny, which might end up carrying me, or Haxorus, which obviously needs shields to be used effectively. He counts that really well, stops me from landing the move, so it stops me gaining a shield. So that was nicely done from him. Haxorus will wall the cast form, so I'll come in and get some counters. I mean, that still does a lot for a resisted 35 energy move. So Marowak in now. I timed that poorly. I don't know. Again, I didn't play great. I made lots of silly mistakes during this run. Yeah, like I'm going to damage the Haunter as well. And then do I go in and yeah, I can shield this and get the surf off, and then I mean surely. Well, I know this is a Shadow Punch at this point. Okay, maybe as long as I go for the farm down here, it makes sense. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I can get a double surf off before he gets to the move. Yeah, I did. I won that game. Not great here. So I bring the Tangrowth, and it doesn't end well for me. So I go to Skarm on the safe switch. Obviously, the Finny walls it. Well, doesn't wall it, but does more immediate damage on it. But Skarm saves that match for the end. I go for the Brave Bird. Think I can try and get switched back here, but he shields it. He doesn't want to get me switched. Wants to maintain that matchup, which is sensible given that he's probably got cast form in the back. So now I can go into Finny. Yeah, have to shield this. Finny is going to carry me at this point. Don't quite get the farm down, but I think this is a Mud Bomb, so I like this through. I should not Mud Bomb, Bone Club. So obviously I'm incorrect. Yeah, but we'll see here just how much the Moonblast does. So, like, it's a nice chunk. You can see how that's not a comfortable matchup for the cast form. I catch the move here, but obviously it doesn't really make any difference because he's going to have something to beat Tangrowth in the back, which he does, which is come out of the thing that's going to wall me. So I figure let's see how much the Power Whip does. Yeah, I guess we don't see because I put it off apparently. So I lost that one. So into the decider. Brave play from myself to lead Tangrowth. Maybe I shouldn't be bringing it, knowing that he's not afraid to bring Como. But obviously things fell right, so I can't complain too much. I'm going to shield the Shadow Bone because I know that keeping Finny healthy is really, really good for me. Do I shield this one? Yeah, I thought so. Because worst case is he brings in cast form and I can Moonblast burst. And he has Como in the back at this point. Like he has to disperse him the comp. So as long as I've saved energy versus him to land a move, I've still got the full health Skarm, so I should be okay. Now we see how much the Power Whip does, and that's still a decent chunk. Maybe I can get to a Rock Slide. Yeah. And maybe I'd have made another Power Whip there, I don't know, but I get the shield either way here shortly, yeah. So now Finny can come in and force him to throw his energy. That would be the sensible thing to do. Okay. That's a lot of damage. And this is probably another one. No, it's not. So I go for Finny there. I over-tapped. I didn't need to tap there. That was just a miss. So he ended up like one fast move away from his charge move. So I again could have thrown that through silliness. He again, like it was closer than it could have been. Like and again looking back, I played it a bit silly. Like I shouldn't be bringing Tangrowth in game 3 there. I wouldn't normally be bringing Tangrowth game 3 because knowing that he's not afraid to run the Komolo, that makes it a bit RPS. And in a position where your team comp is stronger, like my team is stronger versus him than his is versus mine, so I shouldn't be trying to play RPS. Like I should be trying to stop him from winning by RPS. So yeah, kind of fluked it a little bit, but yeah. So that took me to the final versus Aero Bubble, and anyone who has been watching my videos for a long time knows that this is a game that I typically lose. Andy has the Crest Lickitung pairing, which I sort of referred to earlier. Both Quillfish and Skarm do nicely there, of course. But he has Regirock for Skarm and a Alolan Sandslash for Skarm, so I really don't want to bring Skarm if I can avoid it. I'm sort of resigned to the fact that I will probably bring it at some point. But like even Stone Edge from Quagsire hurts, right? And he's got close combat on the Sneasler. Like it's not, Skarm isn't a safe mod, so I'm going to try and use Tangrowth and Quillfish if I can. Because the Haxorus does really nicely versus the Lickitung with counter. So that's a potential source of energy for me. And he doesn't have anything to take the energy. Like he has Sneasler, which can absorb the Shadow Claw but not the Dragon Claw. The Night Slash but not the Dragon Claw. But Sneasler doesn't like taking moves. I guess, yeah, I'm expecting, I don't know what I'm expecting here. Yeah, Haxorus looks solid. I don't want to, Haxorus isn't the sort of mod I'm comfortable risking until I sort of have an idea as to what he's going to do. So I think I want to stick with Quillfish and Tangrowth and see what happens. Also, like Diggersby here obviously also looks fantastic, so I imagine I'd bring Diggersby all 3. But yeah, let's press play. Obviously I've skipped a bit where Aero takes minutes and minutes and minutes to pick his team. Nice lead for me. So I stay in, I throw an Earthquake. Like, I should be braver there. There's no, I mean, he has to shield this, otherwise he loses. So I should be Fire Punching there and playing a bit stronger. I'm not going to shield this. He's got enough energy to throw back-to-back close combats or what have you. And I'm not going to shield this either because at this point he thinks I probably shield. So I'd rather weaken it. Yeah. So Aquatails it's enough to chunk him. And in fact, I come out of that matchup winning, so that's really nice. And I can go back into the Diggersby if I wanted up a shield, but I choose not to, which is interesting. Maybe, well, it makes sense really. Diggersby up a shield is going to cope with everything. Tangrowth is not going to deal with everything. So, regardless of what he's got in the back here, I'm in a reasonable position. And I suppose I don't have to worry about taking super effective power whips this way. So I absorb the energy. This is going to be a body slam, I think, so I'll let this one through. Oh, okay, good call. And obviously, Quagsire doesn't have any super effective moves to hit me with, so I don't really have to worry. Presumably he lets this through. Okay, interesting. So now Tangrowth can come and farm. Although that was a strange play. Like I could have, yeah. I suppose if I go back in with Diggersby there, if he kills me and I go back in with Diggersby, I have to throw my energy. So that was the right play for me. And then I'm able to finish off the Licky, so that's nice. So I think I bring Skarm this game because I didn't see the Regirock or the Sandslash. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, well Skarm's strong if he sticks. Skarm's looking good. I stick with the Diggersby lead. tapping with two fingers. I've stopped doing that. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it was to catch the stone edge, the earthquake even. My bad. And then I kind of suspected the Sandslash would be Shadow Claw, so he doesn't have loads of fastened pressure on me. And this is the nice thing about Rock Slide, is just, particularly coming from the shadow, it hurts neutral things. So that was good. Can chew the Ice Punch. I'll get. Maybe I could have. I should. Well, no, maybe about it. I should have taken a bit of farm there. Or counting on my. I do some port counting at some point, I think. Got to keep the Diggersby alive. It's so strong versus him in the back. Like, particularly if it's registered, if it's Regirock in the back, keeping Diggersby alive is going to be crucial. So I get the Earthquake off, and then this doesn't make any sense. Like, if I was going to shield the Diggersby there, I had to commit to save keeping the Diggersby alive, so I should have switched earlier. But anyway, I mean, I think I can farm down with Scarm here, so I go for it. I just fall short, which is really annoying. Able to finish off the Sandslash, and then I have to hope it's Sneasler in the back, but it's not. It's Cress. So in the end, it didn't really matter whether it was whether I played with Diggersby early. Didn't matter. It'd have been too much for me to overcome the Cress. So the decider. So he's lost, right? He's already lost this game. So he's played to stop my sweep. So I figure let's go out in some glory. Let's bring Haxorus. This is like worst case scenario for me, because Sneasler beats the entire team. Pretty much, yeah, he does. I shield the close combat, and I now have a bunch of energy with Diggersby. But I haven't managed to hurt the Sneasler, which is a real pain in the backside, because I have no fast move pressure on it in the back. Both of Tangrove's charge moves are resisted as well, so it's not ideal. I don't want to go two shields down with the Sneasler in the back, so I let the power whip through. Fairly happy with that play still. And I think I build up to some energy here. No, okay. Maybe saving some energy would have been nice to weaken the Sneasler. A little bit of lag, but nothing major, nothing important. And this is good. And you have to trust me on this, because it means that now I know Tangrowth from the back is useless. So I can use Tangrowth as a sponge to absorb the energy, all in on Haxorus at this point, because I know he's going to switch out to Sneasler, and now I've got the counter down with Haxorus on the Sandshrew and the Sandslash in the back. I can chunk the Sneasler with the Rock Slide, but I get the last shield. So now Diggersby can come in. Do I let this go? Yeah, let this go. All in on Haxorus. I can get to a 5-punch, which is really nice, because Diggersby's so bulky and Aerial Ace is so shite. At the farm, straight into Haxorus, and there we go. And then, just to cap off the tournament, needless Night/Slash boost at the end. So GG's. So 5-2-1s, but play out with everything on the team. Everything was what I needed it to be at all times. Really pleased with that. Like, typically my drafting style, because like I was saying at the beginning, I like having charm counters, which are specific things, and dragon counters, which are specific things, and what have you. So typically I always end up with slightly odd looking teams which are rubbish, or have mons on them that are rubbish. Didn't happen this time. And looking back after the draft, after the draft, but before playing any games. I was a bit concerned that that happened. I obviously had such a great start to the draft with Skarn, Tapu, and Diggersby. But then I did wonder whether I ended it in the proper way. Like, obviously, there were stronger ones left on the board than Quillfish, Tangrowth, Haxorus. And I was thinking, have I done my usual thing of digging myself into the ditch with useless mons that work well in my head but don't work well in practice? It was really gratifying or fulfilling, both of those things, to get use out of Tangrowth and Haxorus in the later rounds. So yeah, there we go. Finally won a draft. Tied many drafts. I've gone 4-1, 5-1 in many drafts. Never won a draft, never swept a draft, so this was cool. I did it with Haxorus, so even more pleasing. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope the fish weren't too much of a distraction. The yellow ones are actually Pikachu fish. They have black bits on the tails and they have red cheeks, so they're Pikachu fish, which is, I think, is cool, but it's kind of nerd out, I suppose. So yeah, hopefully when the new season starts soon, I'll be back for some chatting shit. So see you then.